to talk to you, the regular Joes.
To movies and toys and TV shows, comics and collecting and superheroes. There's no end to the useless stuff they know. But don't call them geeks, they're just regular Joes.
Welcome to the Regular Joes podcast. I'm Dave Pisani.
I'm Barry Kay.
And I'm Todd Pleasant.
What's going on, everybody? Something a little different today. We're going to go through our normal beginnings, but we have a long-form interview with a guy named Adam Ezekiel. He owns this company called NostromoCrew.com, and he makes, I don't even want to call them costumes, uniforms from the original Alien movie. And he also was a part host of the Perfect Organism podcast. He's like super into Alien, and yeah, it's cool. He's like this one-man shop, which I aspire to have some one-man shop so I could do something different for a living.
Great interview, really interesting guy.
So really cool dude.
Yep.
Let's go some random. Well, Barry, why don't you go first? Barry and I did something the other night.
Yeah, we could talk about it real quick. So Dave and I and our wives actually went to an event at on the campus of a college here in Long Island called LIU Post. They have a theater called the Tillis Center, and they had a screening of The Princess Bride, which was followed by a moderated discussion with Mandy Patinkin.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which was really cool. And I had not seen Princess Bride on the big screen since it came out in '87.
And I had just seen it like this year. I had seen it, but it was an experience seeing it in the big screen, a much even better experience.
Yeah, and everybody was there obviously because they loved the movie and they wanted to see him. So every time he came on screen, the crowd was clapping and cheering and laughing, and so it was not only fun to just see it with a group of people, but it was fun to see it with people that were like super into it.
Yeah, it was fun.
So after the movie, he came out, and his son Gideon came out to moderate the discussion. His son and I have to believe that they did not see each other backstage because Mandy seemed genuinely surprised.
He was totally surprised.
His son Gideon came out in a really cheap Inigo Montoya, like Amazon costume with the wig and the whole thing. Yep. And Mandy just started cracking up, which I thought was really cool. But Todd, the best part, and I'm going to text you pictures, throughout the discussion, it became very aware that they brought one of the actual swords with them, and he actually did a little bit of a fencing demonstration with his actual screen-used sword, and talked about it. And it turns out he has two of them.
And he's got a hero and a fighting sword.
Yeah, and he's gifted one to each of his two sons. But they brought one of them with him. So it was really cool just to be like, oh my God, awesome. That's the sword.
I love the idea that someone who's an actor is actually that attached to a role that they want to keep something like that, something iconic like that.
But you could tell. I mean, first of all, stories were great. It started out like this. I wasn't sure where it was going because the guy jumped into like audience questions from the get-go, and I was like, this guy doesn't have anything prepared. Apparently, the two of them go and do a lot of interviewing, mostly political stuff. They were just
he does a lot of intensely political stuff, and he's very opinionated and very passionate.
Yeah.
And I have heard over the years that he can be difficult, like on set, and difficult to work with, but he came across like the nicest, most genuine guy during this conversation. It was He really is passionate about this character, and he was like, one of the questions that he was asked was, do you ever get tired of people coming up to you and quoting the lines from Princess Bride back to you? And he was like, no, I never ever get tired of it. He's like, I love it when people do that.
I think you could tell, or he even said, this is the best role he's ever had and the best filming experience he ever had. And you could see it. And again, I do love that movie. For seeing it on the big screen again, obviously with people, and then hearing him talk, I have a bigger appreciation. There's nothing wrong with that movie. And, we talk about perfect movies like Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I get what you're saying. I thought you're defending it. I'm saying, no, obviously it's a near perfect movie.
I think it's a perfect movie too.
Yep. I agree.
And he equated it to almost like a Wizard of Oz for a more modern
it truly
age
is,
group.
because you can look at this and you can show this to anybody, and there's stuff to laugh at. There's stuff, and the casting when you go through
it's everyone in it is
brilliant.
Great.
He was talking about the Billy
Everyone.
Crystal stuff, and he was saying that he had to stand there for 10 hours, which is watching Billy Crystal ad lib, and he said every take was different, and just trying to keep a straight face was impossible. He said,
and Rob Reiner had to leave the set, leave that little, hut, whatever the hell it was, set, because he couldn't stop laughing the whole time.
Yeah, supposedly Billy Crystal and him have a sort of relationship where he tries to because he likes making him laugh. So he tries intentionally to make him laugh, and it became an impediment to filming.
Yeah.
So
it was a lot of fun, though. I was glad we went.
A lot of talk about the sword training. They trained for 4 months. And ironically, which isn't ironic because he was the guy at the time they filmed it in England, Bob Anderson, who did Star Wars and doubled in the fighting scenes for Darth Vader, was the
stunt coordinator and the stunt choreographer, or the sword fight choreographer.
Yeah. But it was fun. It was good. And it's interesting. Cary Elwes is out there doing the exact same thing.
Yes. Yeah, he is.
And I saw that, and having seen this, if it was he was in Connecticut a couple of weeks ago, I'd go see that too. He do some compare and contrast
years ago, and I almost saw him on the book tour. I was like, I just could not make it work time wise.
He's going to be after the show. We'll talk about it. I think he's going to be somewhere at some point, not far from us. So I'd love
to see that.
Yeah, it was great. I was really glad we went, and it's always fun to hang out with Dave and stuff. But it was a really good event. So
yeah, cool.
And he did the line at the very end of the thing, Todd. He did the line, which was great. He got up with the sword in his hand and did it, which was fantastic.
Is it odd seeing Saul Berenson talk about being Inigo Montoya?
A little bit.
It's like,
but you don't really see Saul. You see Inigo a little and older.
What was interesting was that he was talking about how he gets.
He's got Saul's glasses. He's got Saul's beard. He's got Saul's haircut, and it's like this is Saul Berenson.
He was talking about how he gets recognized sometimes, and a parent will say, "Oh, that's the guy that was in Princess Bride," and he's like, "Where? I don't see him. All I see is an old guy with glasses and a beard."
Yep.
But he says that he says that he will lean down and whisper into the child's ear in the voice.
Yeah,
and that's when the kid knows
that's
brilliant.
That's brilliant. Yeah,
I actually brought, in case there was any autograph opportunities, I made a plaque to go with my sword, but there was not. No. I didn't know how big the venue was, but I may actually print one of these pictures and put it next to it, which would be cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. I don't think he does a ton of these. It doesn't seem like this is something he does all the time.
He made it sound like it was only the second one he'd done or something like that.
Yeah. So it's cool. So that, Todd, do you have some random?
I got some random. Something people didn't see this weekend was Joker Folie à Deux, which means Madness for Two, though it could also be translated to Joker drops a deuce. I mean, it apparently
it sounds like it.
It had a rough weekend. They are now lowering what they announced the the take was. They've adjusted
saw
it
that.
downwards, so it's now under $40 million in its first
And
weekend.
I haven't looked at any reviews. Or is it just because nobody was interested, or is it because it's getting terrible reviews?
Can I have it? Can I say I have a statement? I have a statement to read based on that.
Okay.
Joker's audience, not critics, audience Rotten Tomatoes score is more than 20 points lower than Madam Web. It's a 31
and
Is
it's
that even
trending
possible?
down. It is
of
crept
57.
downward. It's creeping downward, and it also had a terrible critics score.
It
Though
did
not
have it was
as
a
bad as
33 critics.
Interestingly, the Joker had a much higher audience. It was still decent. It had a great audience score and a Midland critic score. I think it was like 85 and 65 or something. The audience score is lower than the critic score, but the critic score is still very, very low.
Then cinema score,
blend,
there's some other score.
Yep.
It's a D. I think it's the only
Cinema
D
score, yes. It's cinema
this
score
year.
D. And it's the only superhero film to get a D, which is basically D is
Batman and Robin got a C minus.
Yeah,
so did
that's what I'm
Madam
saying.
Web. And
so
this is
basically saying it's unwatchable.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know why this makes me happy. And there's no reason to make this movie.
I will say,
Well, no, the reason to make it is that the first one made $1 billion.
There was no reason to make that movie.
no, that's it's actually, I think it's a very good movie. I think it's very interesting. It's a just different take on that character. They did some really cool stuff in there, but
It's confusing to the audience.
sometimes you just don't need a sequel. And
But that's
I
not the way
think they
studios
really-
work.
I think they thought like there's so much like Harley Quinn love out there that you put Lady Gaga and Harley Quinn together.
That's not Harley Quinn.
No, I know, but I'm
for
saying
better or for worse, Margot Robbie is now directly associated with Harley Quinn. So
But that's the thing. It's like, why confuse the audience and put standalone movies when those characters are also somewhere else? It just makes no sense.
yeah, Marvel's. I mean, well, our Sony does the same thing. Sony's making Spider-Man villain movies with no Spider-Man,
But you're not also seeing them someplace else. That's the difference.
yeah, I suppose. It's
To me, until they come use and honestly, the Joker's kind of dead for them now, for at least the next.
I don't
years.
think so. I don't think so. I think you can have multiple incarnations of Batman. You can multiple incarnations.
I don't
Joker
like that on the screen at the same
Joker is
time.
probably the. I don't think there's another villain that compares on the level of Joker. I really don't. I think he's had his own comic a number of times. They've hit tons of miniseries, there's all these different, yeah, I think he's got, I don't say he's got as many dimensions and versions as Batman, but it's closer than any other character and any other villainous character in comics. If this was good, this could have been good. It's apparently not. And like I said,
It isn't.
It now kind of diminishes the original because
The reverse Barry K principle of
yeah,
whatever
absolutely.
the hell.
Yeah,
No, when
principle
you
of
make-
retroactive
when you make
improvement.
something
This becomes retroactive impairment.
And he won the Academy Award for this. I was like,
This is what I'm saying.
that's nuts.
It's like I mean, you never saw it. I get that. That's fine. I think it's a very good film, and I think taking a pop culture character and inserting it in a more real world setting, and then straight up homages to those two other properties, that was interesting. It was a very interesting take. The King of Comedy and Taxi Driver, but
not Batman. But that's okay.
But this is something else.
All right. So by the end of the year, I want to have the discussion of which movie did worse, this or Kraven the Hunter? Because Kraven's coming.
I got to tell you, I am tempted to see this.
You'll see this, but you still won't see Madam Web.
But wait, just listen.
It's bad.
I know it's bad, and that's what I'm saying. It's $5
Oh.
Tuesday at my theater tomorrow, and I'm actually tempted to watch this just to see how bad it totally is.
What about Madam Web? You won't see that.
I know better.
Listen, I'm going to go out on a limb for a second time, and I'm going to make a second hot take. I didn't think Madam Web was that bad.
Yeah,
it's not good.
So
it wasn't that bad.
But again,
I don't think it was.
I mean, totally alone.
There's
what
worse
I'm saying is,
movies.
I'm saying
superhero
because
movies.
I saw the original, and I want to see just how. I'm curious just how bad they screwed this up. Okay, I had no interest or attachment to any of the characters in Madam Web, and continue not to. And that's what I'm saying. When somebody drops one this bad, there's a certain curiosity to it. Barry, you probably to some degree feels at some point you're probably going to watch at least some of this, I imagine.
When it's on HBO or Max and I can watch it in my leisure, I'll check it out. But honestly, if 20 minutes in I think it's bad, I'll just shut it off.
Yeah.
I'm not going to force myself to watch it if it's not good.
I'm curious. I really am. And because like I said, it's how do you feel? I guess, I mean, you could say this is the last two Thor movies, if you want to look at it that way, because, you do something really great and you follow it with something that's a stinking turd. But we'll see. We'll see. And I think I've seen every Batman adjacent film in the theater, so I probably got to keep that streak going. So
I've seen every Marvel or Marvel adjacent movie, but you won't watch Madam Web.
Yeah, I mean, that's not Marvel adjacent. That's the shit that Sony got left over with in the deal, and they're trying to squeeze every dollar out of it. So
anyway, Todd's got his own thing. We can't change it.
Yeah.
So I had read Deadpool and Wolverine's coming out on streaming for pay. You pay.
I think it's out already. Yeah,
it is out. And then it's in the article. They're like, and it comes out on physical media. 10/22. You know what the 4K Blu-ray costs? $50.
What?
$50 for the 4K Blu-ray.
That's crazy. That's unusual too. Usually they're like in the $30-$35 range.
Yeah, and the Blu-ray is 35-ish. And then Romulus, which comes out on Blu-ray and stuff on December 12th, is also $50. $50.
You know what? At this point,
so is this part of the strategy of like getting, putting it out sooner, but they're still going to make a bunch of money on it? I mean, are these films?
But you can buy it on digital, Dave, and just watch it on like Apple TV or something.
Oh, I know. But to me, part of me was like, if I'm going to own it, I might as well just buy it. And if I was excited to see again, but I'm not doing it for $50. I mean,
no, that's a lot of money.
The difference of like $20, but still, it's just like, it's the principle. I'm not paying $50, and I'm not buying a lesser quality.
What's so ironic though is that we were buying laser discs 25 years ago for $50 and $100.
That was different. We were also buying computers for $4,000.
Yeah, you're right.
I would be really curious to see where Blu-ray sales are right now, and whether that market has declined with streaming.
Oh, it's got to decline. But
no, I know that, but how much? What percentage wise it has?
I'm wondering if if physical media is making a comeback with like vinyl and stuff is making a comeback.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, is this going to, in a very short order, is this going to be having it in physical media? Is that going to be a niche thing?
I bet it will be.
Because
like I would buy that if it was $30. I mean, it's going to be on. Is it going to be on Disney Plus though? I guess it will. It's a Disney.
Dave, if I can just jump in first. Oh, yeah, you're right. It is 50. I was going to say, I know that there's a Steelbook that's 54.
Yeah, there's one's even more.
But yeah, the 4K, yeah, you're right. The regular Blu-ray is $31.99 and the 4K is $49. This is on Amazon anyway.
That's where I was looking.
You know what? I wonder if the price will come down because like...
Oh, it will.
Looking at some of the other movies that are out on 4K, they're in the regular price range. So
which is like what?
30, 25, 30.
Yeah. So
I would pay $30 for a 4K Blu-ray before I'd pay $30 for to own it on Amazon. For sure.
So here's a good example: Twisters, the new Twister movie.
Yeah.
The 4K is currently $40. It was originally $49.98, and now it's marked down to $40. So the prices are.
And this is the thing too. I've noticed this with books. I've noticed with a whole bunch of physical media, is that you've got a few week window where it's full price, and then it's 30% off. It's 25 to 30% off, and which is maybe stop like pre-ordering like compilation books of comics and stuff like this, because you're paying full retail when, like I said, in just a few weeks, then they'll knock 30% off it. So maybe this is for the people who are desperate to have it and thinks there's going to be a shortage. But yeah, I don't.
Who knows? It just seemed like a lot.
Yeah,
Anyone
I
have
agree.
more random?
Have you guys seen the trailer for Ballerina?
Yes.
I have not.
Some things surprised me.
I don't remember it.
You're not going to spoil it if you tell me about a trailer, so it's okay.
John Wick.
Anna de Armas is in it. She looks good.
John Wick is in there.
Oh yeah, we knew. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but it's just like, I think this looks really good. And I'm
supposedly that is why Keanu Reeves was not in The Acolyte, because he was originally going to be in The Acolyte, but the filming schedule between that and Ballerina conflicted.
Thank God.
Can you imagine if he was in the Acolyte?
He chose wisely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you read the Acolyte article where the one of the actresses is basically all Acolyte star blasts Disney for failing to protect stars from racist reviews from Star Wars? Disney doesn't own the internet. They own a whole lot.
Yeah, it's a little ridiculous.
It's just like so. Yeah. Now I will say this. I think what she's saying is valid in one regard. I think fan sites are amplifying the least common denominator in these things, and I think that all the fan sites are like running with all the negative criticism. I don't think that's a Disney thing.
Well, welcome to the internet, first of all. And second
I know
of
that.
all,
I know that, but I'm saying in this case,
how are they going to stop it? They're not stopping it.
In this case, no, but I'm saying Disney could probably put pressure on those sites. But
Disney also relies on those sites for us. It's kind of a parasitic,
but it's vice versa. And I'm saying, so that was, as I've been thinking through this, Disney can't control what's on Twitter. They can't control what's whenever. But when every one of these sites that you go to, like Geek Tyrant and whatever, endlessly talks about what fans are saying, and it's really a smaller minority of fans, they could have an impact on that. I don't know how you combat this, but
they could. But I also remember a time when an actor or an actress was in something that people didn't like, they just moved on. But now they've got to blame somebody. Like, it just wasn't good. Just accept that you might have worked hard, and nobody's denying your work.
Okay,
but the end result wasn't good.
Stuff about them, like they were with Kelly Marie Tran and stuff. That stuff is, and there's no shortage of assholes, as we can tell from the upcoming election. So,
but the standard argument about like the bully, okay, it goes back to it's been this way forever. If you show them that they're getting to you, it feeds them, and that's what all these things are doing, are amplifying the bullies. So
just move on to your next project and hope that it does better.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know who's better? Fanboy Collectibles.
Yeah.
Todd, Beast premium format. You got to check that out.
It's quite an action pose that statue's in.
Yes.
It is.
There's also Hot Toys Amazing Spider-Man. It's funny. You couldn't give those things away when Amazing Spider-Man, but now that he's in the other one, they re-released it. So if you missed out on Amazing Spider-Man, now's your chance to get it. Check it out. Also, something called Beast Kingdom. I don't know who they are. They're making 8-inch Batman and Robins.
Yeah.
Those look pretty cool, too.
And very, very detailed.
A lot of heads and stuff, I think.
Yep.
And they're in stock, by the way, if you're a Batman and Robin fan.
Yeah, check those guys out. Fanboy has got this Beast Kingdom, Batman and Robin. Also, they will be at New York Comic Con, which is, as we record this, when is this coming out? The following week. So it's coming out next week. They'll be at booth 3543. They are doing a raffle for a giant statue, $5 a piece, 5 for $20. And they'll announce the winner. You don't have to be present to win, but you better pick it up. So check those guys out. Check them out in person at New York Comic Con. Check them out at their store in Newtown, Connecticut. Check them out online, fanboycollectibles.com. Tell them
the regular Joe sent you.
Are we out of the ad now?
Yes.
Okay. Dave, did you look at the accessories for the Batman?
I looked at it quickly.
There's a bat phone. There's a Shakespeare head.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Batarangs. This is very cool.
That's almost like that other company made the 8-inch Batmans, which I have. Then they came out with accessory packs.
But these,
I think that was McFarlane.
These look really good. These
Yeah.
this looks. I might get one of these for my Batman shelf. I think that's kind of cool because I've got a 12-inch one, but this would fit in with all the action figures. So very cool.
So now check out our interview with Adam Ezekiel. We are here with Adam Ezekiel. He is the owner of NostromoCrew.com. So basically, you make replica Nostromo shirts and pants and patches and belts and pins and wings. We'll get into the wings. Welcome, Adam.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm going to just detail. I don't even know if Barry and Todd know exactly how we got here, but so I've known of Adam. Oh, there's Jonesy right there.
Yes, Jonesy wanted to say hi.
So I've known of Adam's work because I've been on the RPF for like 10 or 12 years, and when he started making the uniforms, I'm like, oh, those are really cool. And then again, big Adam Savage fan, and I saw Adam covered your stuff, and that was a couple years ago. And then we all saw Romulus when it came out, and the funny thing, I think we were a little reluctant to see it because we were a little afraid, but we all saw Romulus and then we all really liked it. And then I started doing we'll get into that.
Yeah.
We started doing some digging, and I remember seeing Fede with the Corbelin hat. And then I'm like, there's your patch. I'm like, I have to, I got to get one of those patches. So you were selling them on the RPF. So, you're looking for yours.
Yeah, it's over there.
Yeah.
It's not an arm's reach away.
Yeah. So I bought one from you, and then you sent it with a letter. And the thing that got me was, I'm a one-person business, and someone doing this, one person making all the stuff you make, and we'll get into that, is like, that's what I want to be doing instead of selling advertising. I wish I could, and I'm like that. And then when I saw you're like, 30, 40 minutes from here in New York, I'm like, this is a guy I'd love to talk to. So I mentioned that to the guys. I'm like, oh, this guy's making this stuff. Yeah. We should talk to him. And then you commented on our picture with Barry and Adam Savage and started following us. And when I saw that, that's when I reached out. So it's funny how everything sort of comes full circle.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and so the jacket that Adam's wearing in that picture, I think you made, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So the story with that, and I mean, it was amazing to me that I even got to go to Adam's shop, but Dave has made patches and jackets for us that are similar in theme, but they're no way replicas, right?
I made our podcast logo into the alien patch.
I saw that. That's really cool.
Yeah. So I had a jacket on with those patches and the wings on the jacket, and I had brought the hat to give Adam one of these hats because I knew he was such a fan. The minute he opened the door to let us into his shop, he grabbed my jacket and he's like, oh, that's an awesome jacket. Let me go get mine. And he went and got his and put his on. And then I said, well, let me give you the hat. And I gave him the hat. And he's like, we have to take a picture. So that was that picture. We were in his shop for maybe a minute. And we took that picture because he was so excited. And then he was like, you can post this picture anywhere you want. This is great. So, yeah, it was just wild and now we're talking to you, and you're the guy that made that jacket, which is amazing.
Full circle.
Yeah.
So I know you sold or gave Adam stuff, and you've met him though, right? Too afterwards.
Yes, I met him a few times so far. Even met him I visited his shop very briefly in San Francisco when I was in the area. And that was around the time that I completed the jacket. So I was like, I'll just bring it to you like in person. He was like, yeah, come over. He gave me a tour of the cave, which was really cool. But up until that photo, I haven't seen like a photo of him actually wearing it. I've seen plenty of photos of him wearing like the uniforms, the
he
science
wears
officer.
them building stuff. You always see him. I think he wants to get it grimy, like on the
well,
on
and
the
he had
ship.
that jacket hanging on the inside bathroom door of the shop, and as soon as he saw mine, he just ran and grabbed it and put it right on. So he keeps it with him there, from what I could tell.
Yeah, no, that's great to know. I know he likes it, and it's just it's fun to see whenever I get to see that. But but actually, this whole thing started. Now I think it would be almost 6 years ago.
Oh yeah,
with the wings.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit. Yeah, where did it start? You tell us, because I know it's always
we watched Adam's explanation of the wings.
You always want something for yourself and you make it, but you've gone beyond, which is awesome. So let's hear that.
Yeah, well, I don't know how deep you want me to go into this, but like it started with me just as a hobby. I've been sewing since I was 16, 17, 18.
Oh, right. That was interesting. I learned how to sew from my grandmother when I was a little kid, and I still sew. I've made G.I. Joe clothes, and I've sewn different things. So it's always cool to.
And I was going to ask you that question because I was wondering, did the hobby and your interest in Alien lead you to sewing, or did you already have that skill and then you brought it to your hobby?
I had that skill, but not in any like professional level at all. Very, very basic. And that kind of led me into years ago, like attempting to make a Nostromo jacket for myself, which was like okay, but not accurate on any by any measure. I think it was 2017. I went to a Alien screening, and I was living in Canada at the time, in Toronto. Alien screening. At the end of the screening, some random person approached me. He was really like impressed with my jacket, and he offered to buy it. Like he asked me basically like, how much do I want for it? And I just said a number. I think it was like $500 Canadian, which is not that much. He said like, done. And he went to an ADM and he paid me cash right there. And like my first thought was I should have said higher number.
Yeah.
And
then Canadian dollars.
Yes. And then my second thought was, well, I take this money, I'll make a way better, more accurate jacket for myself. Because I knew almost every aspect of constructing that jacket could be improved upon, and that's what I wanted to do. And this was all like for myself. There was no thought of selling. I didn't really think that anyone would even like want to buy from me or something like that. But that was the germ that began the journey of improving on every single little detail of that jacket. And it may sound at first glance like pretty straightforward. Okay, it's a jacket with A, B, C, and D, but when you really get into it, like I'm sure you guys know from Star Wars costumes, there's some things that are really, really, really specific to that. The time and the era and the place where it was done, which is the late 70s England, and there are so many aspects that go into this jacket. And
well, that jacket is not, even by the standards of the era it was made, it's a complicated design. It's not a basic jacket.
The base jacket, the base layer is it's a cold weather Mk3 jacket from the British Air Force, and they still use the same pattern, the exact same pattern used back in the 70s, but they changed the type of fabric. Now it's a kind of a ripstop fabric, which doesn't age almost at all, like the worn and weathered.
So it was more of a cotton originally, and now it's a nylon-y thing?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And then what the costume designer John Mollo, which was costume designer
Yes.
on Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, Gandhi. I think he won an Academy Award for Gandhi. But for those sci-fi films, he had a very distinct look, which I personally love. And he added pieces of American jumpsuits onto that jacket, like that railing on the sleeve.
Oh, the lacing stuff.
So lacing, is that from the pressure suits that the pilots wear? Is that
exactly?
That's
exactly.
That's what I always thought that was. That was from the first time I saw it. It seemed like the lacing on the high altitude.
He's got stuff laying around everywhere. He's just, but we can't tell because he's in the Nostromo.
Yeah, you can see that. Yeah, but like these.
Yes. Yep.
Lacings. I can send you photos later if you want some.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Yeah. So those are basically they kind of took apart. So for example, this is really like esoteric, but like the jumpsuit that Ripley wears, it had originally pressure elements in the suit down along the legs. They took that out. They sewed it. They glued it on to the jacket because you just had to stay on for shooting. That's it.
Yep.
So those parts, and of course those jumpsuits are extremely rare. They were made in the 50s, early 60s.
Oh, so the base jumpsuit for her jumpsuit.
Right. For that for those parts. Like if I wanted to get original pieces that they used in the film, it's from those 1950s made early 60s jumpsuits, which are extremely rare to come by. But if you do, just the look is just so much more authentic because it's a type of webbing and fabric. It just looks real compared to almost any other alternative. And I've seen almost anything that others have offered in the past, are offering now. But I wanted to put a real emphasis on first of all, it being almost, it will never be 100%, but as close as it can be to screen accurate, in order to achieve that look and that feel. So, for example, the webbing that was used originally. So I have a few of those jumpsuits, those original 1950s jumpsuit. I tried to source in order to make these webbings, these panels for my new jackets. So I tried to source to buy this webbing. I just thought to myself, like, for sure someone has this somewhere. Nothing anywhere. I even sent samples to mills and like military.
Really? Wow.
Webbing supplies until eventually it made sense for me financially to commission a mill that makes webbings for military parachutes to make a batch of this specific type of webbing, which is once assembled, it has a look that cannot be achieved using other types of similar width webbing that are available in the market, at least anything that I've seen so far.
That's cool that you could actually get that done. I mean, you got to probably have big batch of it, but
yeah. But well, I mean, I sent them a sample, and they just replicated the weight, the width, the type of weave.
Yeah.
But it's very specific because it's a jumpsuit, so it has to be zero stretch, for example. So all of these kind of aspects that go into it that gets you to that final look that looks.
Well, and if you didn't have a background prior to that in, creating clothing and sewing and knowing how to reverse engineer that, I mean, like not everybody would be able to do that. You clearly had the right skill set and the right way of looking at it to know what you were looking at.
I mean, 99.9% of people were like, "Oh, this is close enough. Moving on," and that's what makes it awesome.
I can't find it on eBay or Amazon, so I'll quit.
Yeah, or just use something else.
Yeah.
Well, I jumped ahead of myself a little bit, but that process of making that better, more accurate jacket for myself led to at a certain stage to recreating the wings that Dallas or Kane wore on their jacket, and that was an entire learning curve of itself, because it's not an embroidery, it's not fabric, it's a metallic goldwork bullion.
It's like a wire, right? Is it like a wire?
So exactly, it's a metal. It's a tiny metal wire that's wrapped around a fiber core, and it's sewn in by hand. And
this is like a traditional military emblem technique. Yeah, is that
right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Because that's really what it comes across as. When you I've been to museums and looked at old military, particularly naval costumes, and that's what it really
uniforms. They're called uniforms.
No, but I'm saying that's what they look. Yeah, it very much looks like. Yeah,
that's exactly it. So these were mostly used even today for formal military dress uniforms, for royal regalia, royal uniforms. This is a technique that cannot be done with machines. Like you can't have a sewing machine to sew with this type of material, so it has to be done by hand. That's why it's getting rarer and rarer. There is one school in England that teaches this technique, the School of Needlework.
Really?
In the UK, yes, and they make all of the royal family's official.
Oh yeah, because they wear all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
So if it's got to be done by hand, how long does it take to make one of those sets of wings?
So the thing is that you can buy, available through the internet, no problem. You can buy supplies for this, for like all the different type of wire, the different type of needles, the dense felt that this is usually sewed on, and it's, well, for me it took me at least I think 2 years to get to a point where I can send you later if you want to to plug in photos of like the progression, which is cool to see. But for a proficient artist that does this would be around 4 hours of work for one pair of rings.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
But you're making those yourself.
At the beginning, I did, but because if I kept doing that by myself, then that would be all I've been doing.
Yeah,
and I would be going crazy. So now
and
I have
your hands would be like that. I'm sure.
Yeah. So if I custom stuff that I want for myself, I make. But I have a very talented artist that works with me.
Oh, that's great.
For the wings, for the jackets, for the shirts. And also for the yes, exactly, for the oak leaves on the
you use
the visor.
I remember I was hearing, I think on one of the other podcasts, Adam's also on the Perfect Organism podcast. Are you on all the time, or you're contributing host or something?
Not all the time, a contributing host,
yeah. But I heard one. So those on, and I know there's all this controversy of Brett's hat, like, where is it? And I went to the same USC exhibition that you went to. I heard, and I have pictures of the hat from, I think it was from 2019. That may not be the hat, but they were these bullion oak leaves. They were not $6 ones from eBay like we have, apparently.
Right. So I think the hat that was at USC I went there. I have photos of that. And at the time when I saw this, I was, oh my God, this is Brad's hat right here. There it is. And like the more I researched it, the more I understood that that's not exactly his. At least that's not the hat that he wears on screen at any point.
I would never know that, but you've done your research, so.
Yes, and it's very clear that the that hat, the oak leaves that are on display, it's a gold thread. It's not bullion wire. There's a difference. I can show you.
Yeah.
And the shoulder patch isn't a production made shoulder patch. It's a good one, but it's not one of the originals.
There's been a number of hats sold, but no offense to anyone, and they're not our sponsors, but Prop Store and Heritage, and none of them may be the hat or the hats.
What I can say is that I have not seen the hat that Harry Dean Stanton wears for most of the film. I've never seen that since the film.
Yeah, interesting. And there's in 1980, I was at a Comic-Con and I bought the Thinking Cap one. It had just come out. I still have it over there. I wore it for years. It's with my Alien display that's over there. But people were selling those as the real hats, I think, at some times.
Yeah, I know. It's
a lot. There was no ability to research things back then, though. Now there's so many avenues to actually fact check these things.
Yeah, you could stop your VHS tape at some point and have a blurry image of something.
Yeah.
And that was what you're
4K now, yeah.
Yeah.
And now there's websites that break down every frame of 4K Blu-rays, and you can just scan through literally every image.
Every frame.
I find it amazing when, I was impressed when I first saw the film, but I find the detail that they went into for these uniforms, and the designs are quasi-military, but they're almost more like a commercial shipping sort of thing. They found that perfect balance. And then the fact that just like the ship and everything else, they're worn, unlike almost every other sci-fi production that we saw, in earlier eras, the uniforms don't look like they just came out of came from the dry cleaners. And it's awesome to see the detail reproduced in that way. I mean, it's just amazing. Like I said, the work they went into it, but every aspect of that film that was that way. And I could see how you could get obsessed with this, is what I'm saying.
So for you, the progression went from making your first jacket, selling that, making a better jacket, learning how to make the wings. How did you go beyond that into shirts and pants and belts and all the other stuff you're doing now?
So I was also, at the time, and I still am, a big Adam Savage fan. And so it was, okay, I made myself another jacket. It was in the process of being made because it's a lot of work. I was pretty happy with my new set of wings, and I knew based on, watching Adam's videos that he would really appreciate this, and I sent him a pair of wings with like an explanation of what I did and some photos. And honestly, I didn't expect anything. It was not a please make a video about this, or I wanna. And he made this extremely enthusiastic video review, which was incredible, and that sparked a lot of interest. So I remember the wings being you offering them on the RPF. Had you offered them on the RPF yet, or was that you sent them to Adam first? That was before, yeah. That was first. Okay. Yeah.
And were you aware that there just weren't people out there doing this at the time, or did you know you were kind of exploring something that just wasn't being done?
So this is also interesting because I remember, and this would be like now about 10 years ago, I remember sitting on my computer and typing in Nostromo jackets buy or something like that. Like I was looking for a Nostromo jacket to buy, and there was nothing available. There were a few options, but not, it's like nothing that looked screen accurate. And when the search progressed to the wings, then there was one vendor out of New Zealand that made wings, but they weren't the right shape. They weren't the detail, the design wasn't correct. So this RPF member who made a run of bullion correct proper wings about a decade prior, and that's it. He made that run. I think it was about 20 or 30 or 40, and that was it. I reached out to people that he sold those to. I reached out to him. Years later, I did manage to get in touch with him.
But it was some of those old threads that pop up, you can't find those people, and they're like, no, right. I've done that with a couple things. That's long gone. I haven't done that.
Well, and that's sort of the way the RPF works, right? Like people will do a run of something and then they're done with it. And sometimes they'll do more and additional runs, but a lot of times
interest moves to something else and they move on. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But what I was getting at is I was searching to buy, but there was nothing that was close. So then my next step is, okay, try and make it. And then I explored all the types of like also figuring out the type of material, the type of bullion that they use is also an entire journey by itself. There are different types of gold threads that you can buy, and so that was also. So you guys probably know it's more the fun part here is also of course the making, but it's also the hunt.
The hunt. Yeah. Oh yeah, we're big
collectors all the time. Yep.
It's the hunt, and I'm a big maker. I mean, we all make stuff, but it's the research. It's the finding the right parts and all that stuff.
And often it involves partway through the process learning something and then starting over.
Yep.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we all make things that you have to learn techniques in order to be able to go to the next step, and a lot of times that can be frustrating. But it's like you said, it's also part of the fun. And then once you figure it out, you're like, oh, of course, that's
if
how
you could just boom make it. It's like, oh, that's it's. Then you wouldn't be as interested.
Yeah. Right. You need to go through a process, and achieving that is very, very satisfying. And the end of that 2-year process was those wings that I made for myself and that I sent to Adam. That resulted in a lot of interest.
How did people get to you? Did they just looked you up on the RPF or?
I think so. I don't think I didn't have a website then, that's for sure. I think it was just through the RPF. So I said, okay, I'll make a batch. I'll put them up on the RPF, and at the end of Adam's video, he says something along the lines of, well, I have a few of these, Nostromo shirts, but they're not exactly accurate.
I do remember that. And he said he was going to, he's going to piece
He didn't want to put them
in
the shirt because he wanted a more accurate shirt.
Yes. And I'm going to take a few of them, take them apart and assemble one shirt that would be correct. And I was like, this is my invitation.
There you go.
This is the next step.
Great. That's great.
So that started an entire separate journey of is this something that I can even do? Super important for me was screen accuracy. That's when I reached out to my very good friend now, Steve Laboito, also a member of the RPF, and he hooked me up with measurements from the original screen used, costume pieces that are part of Bob Burns's collection.
Okay.
There's a cool.
Yeah, I still have that star log of when Bob Burns got all the stuff from Paramount or whoever it was and did the thing. I have it up, Fox, and did the Halloween show with Walter Koenig played wore the Dallas jacket or what?
But that's that famous story where he called up and asked if they would bring him some stuff, and they like literally brought him the Nostromo and everything, right?
Truck. Oh yeah.
That's crazy.
Speen is friends with Bob too, right?
Yeah. Tom is his good old friend of Bob's.
This story also came full circle. I can get to that later if you want to, but I met Bob in August.
Oh, really? Wow.
Went with Steve, with Steve Labordo. I got invited to the Romulus premiere.
Oh, yeah. I saw you there. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it was only because Steve, he's my mentor basically for everything to do with in the making world of Alien. Whenever I have a question, he's the person I go to. So it seemed very appropriate for me to invite him as my +1 to the premiere.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll get into that because I want to hear about that too. But that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so you met Bob. Did you go to his house and see his stuff?
No, Bob?
Yeah.
So Bob, he's not. I'm not sure.
He's in a.
Maybe, he is in
a
home.
facility now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that's known. That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
Oh, I remember pictures of you with him and you gave him the hat and stuff. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I posted that on the RPF, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, we went to visited him. We were there for 2 hours. For the entire 2 hours, he was just telling us stories, talking about film. He's a very special person, very generous, and very friendly, and very.
An old school collector, hardcore old school collector.
Absolutely.
I've got this book somewhere here from Bob's basement, someplace.
Yes, it came from Bob's basement.
Yeah,
didn't our friend John Micklig write that book? I think he did.
Yep.
Did he?
Yeah,
I think he did.
Yeah, it all comes full circle. World. It's a small world.
Yep.
It does.
All right, so I'll try to keep us on track. You wanted to make Adam's like, I need shirts, and you're like, I got to go on the journey. So you went on the journey of making the shirts and the pants.
It was Adam extending that invitation, and Adam myself absolutely wanting a screen accurate shirt. And again, I went online. There were a few, basically one vendor at the time that was selling Nostromo shirts, but there were so many elements about that shirt that this is not correct, that's not correct, that's not the right button, it's not the right color, measurements, and I decided to try and make like the most. If I have measurements of the original costumes, replicate that 1-to-1, and that was the same thing for the pants, because these costumes were all custom made by Nathans and Bermans at the time.
Oh yeah,
Maitland. Designed by John Marlowe, as we said. He was his main. He was an authenticity advisor at the beginning for films, especially for as far as military history.
Yeah.
So should have looked up like the names of the film, but he was an advisor for accuracy of military aspects in old films, and developed into costume designer. So of course his style would be military influence, because that was his his field of interest. He published many books about military fashion history. I have most of them here, which is very interesting. So I can really see like where he draws,
where it all came from. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so all of these, so the shirts, the pants were custom made from scratch. And that was the beginning of replicating the costumes. That was a little more complicated than that, because I had to, in order to make it, like financially viable, I had to collect interest. That's when the Project Run interest
Project Run, yeah,
the,
yeah.
on the RPF
Oh, so
started.
I remember seeing it, a few years back, and that's that's what's great about the RPF. I mean, you could really you get people's interest and make, 9 times out of 10 is people wanting them for themselves, and I might as well make. But you've made a business out of it, which is awesome.
Yeah, yes. So at that point, I thought, okay, if I make well, it started from a few dozens, then it grew to 100, okay, 200. If I make, and it just kept growing and growing and growing.
Were you surprised how many people wanted alien uniforms?
Absolutely.
I mean, this is the funny thing. It's like you think, okay, I'm into it. There's got to be a couple dozen people who are into it, but the reality is there's millions of people who love that movie. But then, what subsection of those people actually want the costumes? Which is just mind-blowing.
But that's also not like making a hat or making a T-shirt, right? Like, you're talking about fitted clothes. Shirts and pants are very size specific. So how did you manage that part of it? Like, I would imagine everybody that said they wanted one, now you're dealing with multiple sizes and multiple leg lengths and all. Like,
yeah,
that just sounds awful.
That was an incredible learning curve for me, because I never produced in mass, and mass I'm thinking, I'm speaking of, in dozens, but still that's something I had, so I had to learn. So I really kind of went to school learning how do companies grade their garments. You have a design, but then you have to make it fit a right range of people. There's it's a whole field in and of itself. The lucky thing about so shirts are relatively simple, because mostly goes according to a chest circumference measurement, which is very easy for people to measure. For the pants, these specific pants, because they are sort of like cargo work pants, they're, to begin with, they are slightly more baggy, so
they're not fitted, so it's a little, yeah.
Exactly. And most of the orders of pants now, because ordering pants through the internet is tricky.
Yeah.
So what I do now is that I reach out to people who order from me and send them instructions on how to measure a pair of pants. Yes, that fits them well, and then I match that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes, so that kind of minimizes the
the returns, exchanges, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Hollywood actors and performers, they tend to be on the smaller side, and when you look at sci-fi collectors, they tend to be on the bigger side.
Yes,
we've all been to conventions.
That's very true. Yeah.
Now, is everything custom sized, or if I order and say I'm a 46 chest or whatever it is, you have them in stock, or they're made?
So at this point, after doing this for a couple of years, and I kept records of everything, so I have a chart of the sizes that are more popular. So those are sizes that I keep stock of, so I can foresee. So it's not everything made from scratch to order. Yeah. I'd work in batches, making batches.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So.
And did you, so the fabric, I think, remember from the video, it's a linen. Did you have that made, or you were able to find that?
I had to find it.
Oh, but I'm surprised you found, the white is white, but the blue is pretty specific blue.
The white is an ivory kind of off-white color. It's not pure white.
Yeah.
The blue is I call it seafoam.
Yeah.
But it's
Yes.
under some lighting it looks green. Some lighting it looks a little blue.
That sounds like seafoam, yeah.
There's
And
an
you found it
interesting-
from a mill or like a
Oh, the seafoam gets custom dyed.
Oh, okay. Oh, custom
Yeah.
dyed one.
Yeah, so I found the correct fabric. So it's the same fabric for the ivory and for the seafoam. Just the seafoam gets custom dyed.
I feel like
shades of
we don't do nearly enough work on our stuff. You're really digging in.
Oh yeah.
Well, I don't know,
It's
Dave. I think that some of the things that specifically the things you made, because I mean, a lot of what I make is based off of kits and other things, but a lot of your stuff is from scratch, and I think you do a fair amount of
I'm
research.
gonna have to do more research. I
Yeah, it's just pretty amazing.
don't want to be an imposter.
So I'm just curious because I've looked at everything on your website and it's very Alien, first movie Alien focused. Have you thought about? I mean, I know you have a few things that are from some of the other films, but have you thought about expanding beyond Nostromo and going to Shalako or any of the other? You know, there's such a variety of uniforms and it don't not even starting down the Colonial Marine path, but there's so much more from the franchise. Have you thought about expanding at all?
I definitely have thought about it. There are still a few pieces from Alien that I'm working on. So Brett's jacket.
He's a totally
that.
different jacket. Yeah.
Exactly. Brett's jacket. Like the Brett's Hawaiian shirt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's cool.
Cool.
So several vendors in the past have tried to replicate the pattern, the color, the color scheme. It came pretty close, but it's always missing a few of the elements. And if you take enough screenshots and have a few photos of the screen used Hawaiian shirt, I'm trying to put together like a complete pattern.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
In order to recreate that.
That'd be a cool thing
but-
to have. That would be because you could do a lot with that without people even recognizing it. You know, it'd be just but very iconic.
It's a perfect Halloween costume.
Yeah.
Brett's,
pretty easy
and
to
it's
wear.
comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And the sneakers are, I mean, they've been like painted and they're PF Flyers, right? Or is that the closest thing people without putting in a lot of effort can get?
Yeah.
Because they were
Right.
probably something else.
Yes, there was something else. I actually had a conversation about this today with a client of mine that I went to meet here in New York, and the PF Flyers are the closest
Off the
are
shelf.
kind of available off the shelf.
Yeah.
Yes, you can find it on eBay, but people have pinned down exactly because everyone wears. It's like a different brand. I think Dallas it's like
Oh,
high-tech.
really?
Ripley is a different. It has like you see the sole. It's like a boot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lambert wears cowboy boots. Kane's shoes are black. Ash, I don't remember, but it's like
I think he wears white sneakers. I thought.
white sneakers, but I don't remember. I don't remember if it's the same. So it's not all the same. It's like they just bought a few, painted them, added those leather
the
straps.
eyelets. Yeah.
Yes, with the eyelets.
I think and the paint on them is like all kind of coming off. At least I thought I saw the original somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
If you pause that frame in the film, you can see clearly a shoe that's been painted and it's flaking off.
Yeah.
But it looks great.
In some ways, it's also part of the accuracy of this because these are all like contract workers, and whether they wear the crew uniform or not, or parts of it, they've got their own shoes, and the shoes are going to represent the personalities of the people and stuff. And that's really cool.
Yeah, and for me, it makes sense because if you've been in like a large company like the military or like government, sort of like there would be different issues of uniforms over the years. People would keep something, and so you'd have like the same team but wearing slightly different. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And they're not necessarily government workers anyway. They're working.
They're
Like
contractors.
I said, they're contract laborers.
They're like
So-
CIA contractors, like SEAL team types. They all wear their own stuff.
It is really mostly analogous to like people in the shipping industry, where they'll sign on for a contract for X period of time, and now they've got to follow these rules. They give a corporate manual and stuff, and they're owned until it's done. And
I mean, look at Burke. He's basically just wearing street clothes.
Right, but again, he's an executive, whereas they're
more like the merchant marine kind of.
Very much the
Burke,
merchant marines kind
Burke.
of thing. Yep,
Carter Burke.
Carter Burke, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I make his business card. I laser cut them. That's one of my things I did sold on the RPF.
Oh, I saw that.
You did the dog tags too, Dave.
Oh, I have the dog tags here somewhere.
They're hanging.
I made the dog
pulse
tags
rifle behind me. Yep.
I was selling
really
these on the
cool.
RPF a lot.
I saw that. Okay, wow. Do you make it custom names on it? Or
I have made some custom names. Yeah, people ask me to make custom names.
I think Adam needs a dog tag with his name.
I will. Yeah, let me know what you want, and I'll make you up some. I'm actually.
Oh, thank you.
Barry and I are going to a convention in Philadelphia, Monster Palooza. So Paul Reiser is going to be there. So I'm going to make a batch of these and give him one, and maybe have him sign one. And Paul Reiser, Newt is going to be there.
Yep.
Michael Bean. Who else? And then from Dallas, what's his name? Tom Skerritt's going to be there.
Tom Skerritt's going to be there, and Angela Cartwright.
And what's her face? Not Angela Cartwright. Nancy.
Veronica Cartwright.
Veronica.
Yes,
There's so many
Veronica too many Cartwrights. Haas.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
Adam. Yeah. Little Joe.
Little Joe.
Yep.
Yeah. So we've been talking about. We both have posters where we have a lot of the aliens people sign, but we have not found Paul Reiser and
Newt. We've been chasing the two of them for a long time.
Yeah, Paul Reiser doesn't do shows, and all of a sudden he's doing the show, and it's not far. It's only Philly, so we're going to that.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah. What was I going with? So you've got this now. This is what you do full time now, basically, or?
Now, yes.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
It's
now
great.
This is what I basically do full time.
I need to do that.
That's Dave's dream. Dave wants
That's
to
my
be a
dream is to
full-time
make
maker.
things for a living. I have to wait till I retire, which is not that far away, but that is my dream. So let's fast forward a little. So Alien Romulus, that's sort of where for me this all started. Did you meet Fetty and you brought him on the podcast, or you met him on the pod? How did that all happen? Because I know you gave him a hat or something like that.
They bought a hat, and okay, so it starts even earlier than that. The November before they started filming, so this is November 2022, I think.
Probably.
November 2022. It's usually traffic kind of ramps up before Christmas. And in November 22, I get an email from a very nice lady asking me about what do you have in stock? How fast can you ship to Budapest, Hungary?
Oh.
I told her, okay, really cool. And she asked for a few sets of the Seafoam uniform. And I have like this back and forth because I want to make sure, especially for international, that the measurement is correct, that it fits well for whomever it's intended. I thought this was like a gift for a nephew or a husband or a boyfriend or something like that. But the questions from her were, never mind about that. What do you have in stock? How fast can you ship to Budapest? I want to buy a few of these, a few of these, a few of these.
No matter the size, yeah.
A hat and a bunch of patches.
So you were that would have been so that's Burke's not Burke's hat.
Ash.
So was that for the Rook robot thing that they made?
So hold on. I'm
okay,
there,
yeah, wait. Keep going. We'll shut up.
Yeah, no, all good. But but something was a little weird about this order, because usually when people place like an order that's, it's not really cheap, they're more specific about measurements. But so something was strange about this order, but I didn't give it too much thought. I think I Googled the name, but I never. And the thing is that 2 weeks later, and this is my first order from Hungary. I have a lot of orders to the UK, Australia, but never Hungary. And 2 weeks later, it comes out that the new Alien film started pre-production in Budapest.
I remember when he had a picture of the slate, and they
on Alien Day, on the next Alien Day.
That's right.
But once I heard on the news that they started production in Budapest, I ran to my computer, went back to that order, Googled the name, and this time I probably, lo and behold, the first search result is an IMDb profile of a costume designer that has worked on other films associated with Fede Alvarez. And then I went on to write her a very polite email, something along the lines of, "Hey, have you received the package? By the way, I figured this out. Are you associated with the production? I don't want anything. I don't want credits or anything like that. But if you need anything else or anything more, or other pieces of costume that are not on my website, for example," I basically offered my services.
Yeah.
I would have done anything for free, but don't tell them that. And the response I had back was received the package. The person this was intended for is very, very, very happy. Thank you, goodbye. Like didn't address any of my question. And I kind of understood. Okay. And fast forward to this was July, I think, Monsterpalooza. They were going to in California,
LA, yeah.
Yes, and that is when a little while before that they published some shots from the sets, and one of the shots was Fede Alvarez, the director, sitting on something, and he's wearing my hat. Like for me, it was obvious, because I also recreated my Nostromo shoulder patches, for example, are my recreation, my design. I don't buy them from anyone. I did the recreation. I have everything from even the stitch direction, every time I do a reprint, I try to improve on the colors, because it's slightly different in it's an ongoing process getting the colors,
getting it to the way where you want it. Yeah.
Yes, but so that's why, because I was so familiar with every single stitch, I could see in the photo you could see the top of the shoulder patch, and I knew that's mine.
So that was a Brett hat he was wearing.
Yes, he was wearing the Brett hat that I sent to Budapest at the time.
Okay. Oh wow, that's awesome.
I was 100% convinced that's mine. And I went to Monsterpalooza, California, with my friend Jamie Prater from Perfect Organism. We were supposed to interview him then. We were supposed to have a few minutes with him. This was before the movie was released. This was just after they released the trailer, I think. But they were going to show the trailer at Monsterpalooza. So this is very early on. And
so this isn't this year. This is 2023.
23, yes.
Okay.
No. Sorry, this was this year.
Oh, okay. So before the movie came out.
Before the movie came out. It may be earlier in the year.
There's Monsterpalooza is. I don't know. I think it's anyway. It doesn't matter. Could be April.
It was earlier this year, 2024, for definitely. we were supposed to interview him there shortly, and he was supposed to show. There was supposed to be a panel with Alec Gillis, Shane Mahan, Fede Alvarez. They were supposed to show the trailer, and so we met him before the panel, and I was introduced to him, and he immediately, because I was wearing my uniform. He immediately was like, "Oh, hey, you're Adam. You're the guy who makes the." Like he knew who I was. He was familiar with.
Oh my, that's awesome.
Which was again like kind of mind blowing. And we talked about the hat. I had like a minute with him, not even a minute. So this was kind of confirmation that yes, that package to Budapest actually did go to. To the production, and that it was my hat. And we interviewed him again after before. So we interviewed him again, the Perfect Organism in the San Diego Comic-Con before the film came out.
Yes, I remember. I listened to that one too. Yeah,
and we interviewed him again after we could like talk about all the.
That was the one I listened to. I listened to that show where you interviewed him after the movie came out.
Mm-hmm, after the movie came out, exactly. Yeah.
So but you sent them did they make the Corbalin hat for him, or you made it after? Yeah.
No, they made, so the Nostromo hat that they sent them was not used in the film.
I think they were trying to, because I don't remember the character's name, but he has the shoulder patch. The Corbalin one, he's got in
Tyler,
in the thing, and then he was wearing the hat. When I saw him wearing the hat, that's when I'm like, I want a hat, and that's when I ordered the patch from you.
Oh, okay, awesome, yeah. So that I made also just before the film came out, because I wanted to wear the hat for the premiere once I was sure that I'm actually going. And about the uniforms that I sold the production, because I was really hoping, that maybe this would end up on screen. But I'm pretty convinced now that the shirt, or the scraps of the shirt that Rook wears is not the one I made. I think they probably use it they use mine for either research or testing or something like that.
That's cool though, that even if they just use it as a sample, that you helped influence the design of the costume for the character. That's great.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
And I would imagine other people like the three of us that were cautiously optimistic but had our fingers crossed that when we actually saw the movie and liked it, that I'd imagine a lot of other people did too, and I would imagine that patch is a pretty popular item for you now.
The Corbalin
patch,
yeah, absolutely.
I was terrified that movie was going to be terrible. Just because...
we at first didn't even want to see it.
Yeah, I was not even sure I wanted to see it.
And I think
the other thing too is it didn't get any of the press, or didn't get any of the advanced push that the other more recent films have gotten. And it kind of came out of nowhere. There was talk about it, and then all of a sudden it was here. So it was kind of like, oh yeah, that's a thing. But it turned out to be a thing we all loved. So yeah.
Some of the guys and those guys are deep dive in Alien. They didn't love it at first, or
I think different people had different reactions to it, definitely, which is a good thing, because I think that if all of us thought exactly the same, it would make kind of a less interesting podcast.
Oh yeah, we fight all the time, and listeners love when we fight. Yeah. But it's interesting. I feel like anyone I've talked to, and then even listen to the podcast on Romulus, it's one of those things where like, oh yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I liked it. And then the more you talk about it, the more you think about it, it really grows on you. And it's not in the theaters anymore, but I can't wait for it to come on digital. I really want to see it again.
There are a few choices they made in there that people cringe on, and there's things they've talked about forever. But the sum total of it, and I think the brilliant thing is they took all of the stuff that we know, and then they used it in different ways. The classic example I always use when I'm talking to people is the acid blood in Zero Gravity.
Awesome.
We've known for years about the acid blood. We've known you can't do this, can't do that, and adding the zero gravity element to it, and just made it a whole other kind of it's a way around it, but also was a new hazard, and it was brilliant. So
right.
My only problem with the whole movie was
only a problem.
Get away from her, you bitch line. I just
couldn't. Everybody's problem.
You listen to that show, the Perfect Northern show, when Fetty, and I totally missed it. At some points, he claims, and again, I can't even remember the whole movie. It's those other guys are calling, I don't remember anybody's name, Andy, a bitch. And there are lines where they go, "Oh, Andy, you're just someone's bitch." So why would that not be in his head?
I know, but
and he just a moment before he talks about how he wants to be perceived as as a grown up and not a child to her, and
it's just such an iconic line from Aliens. I just had a hard time.
I'm not saying it's not a little.
Yeah,
it's not like
it's got the background for it.
Yeah,
right.
I know we talked about it,
and originally they weren't even going to say anything.
But it's not like. I've got a bad feeling about this from Star Wars, where it's in every single movie. This was like an iconic.
Well, maybe
line
it's going to be.
Yeah, well, maybe it will be now.
Fetty follows Adam. He may listen to our show, and Fetty, if you're listening, it's Barry who doesn't like it. Dave and Todd are fine.
Barry just can't get past that.
Hey, I loved the movie. I just didn't like that line.
Yeah.
It is.
I'm also the one out of the three of us that actually liked Prometheus.
All right, you like it.
Somewhat liked Covenant and wished that they would have made the third movie.
You ever see Willow? Barry likes Willow.
Yeah,
Willow's awesome.
Not go there.
I like aspects of all of them. It's true. I wish some of the not so good movies were better. I was thrilled that we have a new Alien film in theaters. About that, get away from her, you bitch line. Yes, like it bothered me, but every time I went to see it in the theater, especially in the beginning when it was packed theaters, every single time the entire audience reacted to that, like viscerally, vocally. And I think that they did of course they did test screenings. And Fetty talks about that, and that was the reaction. He said, "If that's the reaction, how? Even though it's like it has, like so difficult to get this type of reaction out of an audience."
I heard him talk about it on your podcast, and I think that it's a very valid point that there's a large contingent of younger people that are going to see this movie and have never even seen Aliens. So they don't have the same reaction to that line that I do. As
he does make a good point that he can't make that movie for us 50-year-olds.
Right. Yeah, and it's a fair point.
And again, like I said on our show, my son saw Alien for the first time, and he just said, it's so slow. Because, he's much younger, and he's different pace, and he knows what the monster is because it's part of popular culture. So, but when I saw that for the first time in the theater, when you saw little teases and bits and pieces of what was coming, the horror that was coming, it was terrifying. And that's the challenge of this movie, was taking all the things that we already know, at the same time reintroducing it to a new audience, but making it interesting. And I think they did a brilliant job on it. I think they really did. And I was very dubious of the prospects. It's because there's they've had the same challenge with several other films and not risen to it at the same level.
So outside of your your business and your sort of hobby of recreating these things, do you collect either screen used items, or are you a collector of other Alien memorabilia, or is it really focused on the clothes that and the replicas?
I want to collect screen use items. I just don't have the funding for that.
Yeah, I hear you there.
Yeah.
And I particularly like props and items that I can use.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yes.
I'm less into figures. I have some, but that's not my go-to.
Yeah,
I'm saying? I love
they're
things that I
they're
can
big
wear.
figure guys, as you can see.
Yeah, no, and that's cool. I have a few, but like I love things that I can wear. Like this pen, I can actually write with it.
Yeah.
I love like functional wheel. It's a big aspect also of my uniforms or my hats or in general things that I send out. I want it to feel for the buyer as though he's getting issued. You're issued a shirt, like the packaging of it.
So you wear it. It's something to use and make you yeah.
Exactly, because if you remember at the end when Ripley gets on the Narcissus, and she changes and she opens that closet over there and she pulls out.
We'll never forget that scene. But yeah, go ahead.
I know, but she opens this closet and she pulls out what looks like a vacuum sealed shirt in a bag.
Yep.
So that's how I send out.
Oh, really? Oh, that's so
that's
cool.
awesome.
Exactly. So like,
I always thought that was food, but maybe it's not.
I think it was. She was just changing clothes. So
Yeah. No, I'm going with that, especially
or...
if that's where you're.
It makes perfect sense that for a long flight where you've got to, go to sleep for a portion of it, that the clothes would be sealed and something like that.
And it's an emergency getaway vehicle,
exactly, and that there multiple people might use it or not. It's just going to sit there. Yeah,
right.
That's cool. That's very cool.
I imagine in that closet there's this, the whole row of different sizes of shirts, pants, and so that's so that's how I ship stuff.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
Cool.
That's really awesome. You said you went to the Romulus premiere. How'd that come about?
So Fede was familiar with what I did, which was incredible. I didn't like when we went to meet him at Monsterpalooza. I had maybe he doesn't even I mean, we did write to him, but maybe he doesn't. There was no guarantee that he knew. Like he knew the name on the email associate, but not. So I didn't know that he necessarily like knew who I was. But once I was introduced to him, it's like he knew of me, I guess. And I later asked him, and I got an invitation.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Hopefully, there's another one.
Yeah,
I hope they're working on another one.
I hope so. I hope so very much too. Yeah. He did mention, I think it was on our podcast, that there is interest in making another one from the studio. He did mention that somewhere. And
I do remember. Yeah, and it's doing good money. Didn't cost some ridiculous amount to make, and why not? And it's getting really good reception.
It's actually amazing when you read about and hear him talk about all the practical sets that they built. That they kept the budget to what they kept it to, because they built a lot of stuff out just to make that film.
Yeah,
incredible.
It just really shows what you could do. I mean, hey, we like the Marvel movies, but you don't need to spend $300 million to do something. And there's a lot. It's all on the screen there. I think it was 80 million or something. So that's awesome.
Supported, as 80, but
that's awesome.
It's like as a hardcore, 79 fan, which is a film that I absolutely love and adore, and the more mature I get, the more I appreciate it. And
it's absolutely your favorite film, your number one favorite film?
Yes, yeah.
What's your number two favorite film? To put you on the spot.
Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good choice.
We did a couple years ago. There's two other guys who are sometimes hosts. we did a 2-part episode. We picked our top 100.
Yeah.
I don't even remember how we got together, but it was we picked our, and that was not easy to do. But there was a lot of
top 100. Wow.
But Empire Strikes Back.
Then we averaged them. Okay, so that so you could pick a film that was like way down the line, but if you made it your number one, it ended up number 5 overall, and it was just like it was.
I think Empire's my number one.
It's my number 2. You know that.
Yeah. But anyway, let's not go through that again.
Yeah.
It's more about you. So that's awesome.
Yep.
Star Wars, the original Star Wars.
Is my number 3 is a little controversial.
What's that?
Temple of Doom.
Oh, nice.
Really? We got to get you back for an indie show then. We got to talk about this.
Temple of Doom. Interesting.
Yep. Temple of Doom has a very dear place in my heart from my childhood. For some reason, that film like really, really stuck, and I watched it so many times.
It's an indie movie.
Hey, you do have your only screen used indie prop is from Temple of Doom.
I own one of the chicken skewers when he throws them at the guy in Club Obi-Wan. I bought one of those in a prop store auction 5 years ago. Yeah, I'll send you a picture of them. Yeah, that was one of my. I'm glad it was like, why am I buying this? But the more the prop world just explodes and everything, I'm super happy I have it. So interesting. I don't know anyone who Temple is their number one. I think it's great.
Well, you do know somebody, but you don't necessarily trust their opinions.
Yes, that's right.
My son Joey, that's his favorite Indiana Jones movie.
He said that.
I don't trust his opinion. He liked that everywhere, everything at once.
He's 20. He just turned 20. He's and you'd be you would love his bedroom wall. He's got an Alien poster signed by 2 members of the original cast, and he's got a Temple of Doom poster signed by Ke-Huy Quan on his wall. So
nice.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Those are he's got 3 posters on his walls. Those are 2 of them, and the other one is Star Wars, first Star Wars.
Yeah.
And this it's like it changes over time, the ranking.
Yeah, of course. We always say that.
It has to, yeah.
It has to.
Yeah.
It ebbs and flows for sure.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But your number one typically doesn't change very often, right? I mean, my number one has been my number one since I was 9 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me also, it used to be Empire Strikes Back, and it's I kind of look at it the more I matured and appreciated the Alien more and more, the more it went up and took that number one spot.
Yeah, no, I could see that. And you're digging into it, and you probably know so many things that you didn't know 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Absolutely. And I still now, when I watch it now for God knows how many hundredth time, I still notice things that I didn't notice before. Something in the background, something that was that is done or that was there,
but that's the magic of a movie like that. That they really put so much thought into the
environment.
Design.
It's so dense. Yeah.
And it's interesting. Like you say, Empire is your favorite, and of the Star Wars movies, and like Aliens for me is sort of my favorite of the Alien franchise. I love Alien. I love the '79 Alien, but Aliens, and I didn't see Alien in a theater. It was a little too young, but Aliens was right square in and Cameron. I just love Cameron, so I can appreciate Alien, and I do, but Aliens is the one for me, and that's same thing though. I mean, it's such a dense movie. Every time I watch it, I notice different things.
And I'm both Alien and Star Wars ahead of Aliens and Empire, because I had that experience, and it imprinted, like you were saying with Temple of Doom.
Yeah,
because I'm a bit older. I had it, and it was like, and that's what created those worlds for me, and it always goes back to that. So,
yeah.
And Raiders for you, right? Raiders is your other
Raiders, yeah. Todd's a Raiders guy. Anyway, well, I can't thank you enough. I would love to get you back on again. I think we just scratched the surface of stuff.
We really did. There's
it's been an hour and almost 15 minutes already. So super interesting stuff. So where can everyone find you?
NostromoCrew.com is my website. You can email me at adam@nostromocrew.com. It's on my website, and Nostromo Crew on Instagram and Facebook.
It's a great retail experience. I've been filling out my order as we talked.
Oh, thank you.
So
Todd tends to do that on the show.
I tend to.
You
shop
mentioned something, and he's like, "Oh, I got to buy
stuff,
that."
I buy it while we're looking at it.
Yeah.
So.
And Dave, I think we need to update the wings on our jackets.
I think we need to also.
Yeah, we made sort of just windbreakery jackets that are sort of a homage to the Alien jackets. When we made when I made the patches, I had to make 100 of them, so we had to use them for all kinds of stuff.
You'll get one of those too. So
awesome, thank you.
But we didn't talk about all, but the pins are one of the things.
The pins are awesome. So you had those
first showed me
recreated?
the site. The pins are really impressive, and so I'll be getting a set of those and some patches to start off with. So
on almost on every aspect or detail. So, for example, the pins are they're brass, made of brass.
Yeah.
Most of the pins sold on eBay, it's not brass. It's like a zinc alloy, something. But the originals were brass. So even though it was a little more expensive to get these pins that I have on my website made out of brass. There's so many other little things that for the buttons on the shirts, which is an entire saga on their own, because there's a pattern on the spring snap buttons on the shirt, and it's a detail that on film you do not see it. Maybe in some of the frames you can see that it's not smooth, but that there's a pattern there. And when inspecting the shirt at Bob Burns's collection, suddenly you see, there is this pattern here, very distinct. Are these flowers? Are these stars? What's going on there? And that's a whole other story that maybe we can get into some other time. But
that's awesome. Yeah, detail, boy, it's so nice to see someone really take pride in getting every detail right and then making it and then offering it to people. That's really fantastic.
I try to make an offer to other people what I want for myself.
Yes, that's the key. That's how.
Because with that, when you're happy with it, other people are going to be happy with it.
Yeah,
and you're going to be your toughest critic. So
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, check him out.
Thank you so much for coming on and talking with us.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. This was a blast. Thanks for what you're doing, and I love this. I love these film series. I don't like to say franchise, and I really think that in a way, kind of Alien saved my life.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
And we love talking to people who are passionate about making things and passionate about movies. And so you fit right in.
That is what life's about. It's the things you're passionate about.
Exactly. Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, that was interesting. Thank you, Adam. We appreciate it. I'm sure we'll be talking to you more. We seem to be cut from the same cloth. I didn't even mean to make that a pun, but it was.
Dave made a seamstress joke.
Yeah, seamstress joke. While we're doing this marathon show, a couple of last thoughts.
I think I've got two. So let's talk about Robert Watts for a minute. So Robert Watts passed away on September 30th, but we haven't had a chance to talk about it. He was 86. Unbelievable IMDb. He wasn't super prolific as a producer, but when I'm just going to read
everything
these,
he touched was gold.
Yes.
I mean, it is amazing. I mean, it's just go ahead.
So he was the second unit director on Thunderball. He was a production manager and location manager on You Only Live Twice, production manager on 2001: Space Odyssey, production manager on Star Wars, producer on Empire, Raiders, Temple of Doom, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and Last Crusade. Like, that's an impressive run.
That is somebody that can choose their gigs well. Okay.
Yeah, yes.
I mean because that's there's no stinker in there.
And he touched the Bond franchise. He touched Star Wars in a big way.
And some great things in the Bond franchise. I mean,
Indy and then something as out there as Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I mean, great stuff.
It was still incredibly groundbreaking and so.
And worked with Spielberg, worked with Zemeckis, worked with George Lucas.
Yep.
just unreal. So, and I actually met him back in 2010. I think you might have been with me, Dave. It was at one of the Star Wars celebrations. Super nice guy. Like, I remember talking to him for a few minutes. He had his crew jacket.
Like the behind the scenes guys you get their autograph for like $20.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And it's like, oh my God, this guy who produced all these amazing movies is just sitting here at a table talking to me.
Yeah.
And I remember he had his jacket, like parka jacket from Empire. He was letting people try it on. He had a cameo in Return of the Jedi. He was one of the AT-ST drivers. And his half brother was Jeremy Bulloch. He actually got Jeremy Bulloch.
Oh, really?
The gig as Boba Fett. He called him up and said, if you fit in the suit, you've got a gig. And he fit in the suit. So
that's awesome.
And look at, how that panned out for Jeremy. So I just wanted to mention it because not only did he have this celebrated career, when we met him, he was a super nice guy. And I've heard from other people that have met him that had the same experience. So I just thought it was worth mentioning since he touched so many of the movies that we love.
I've got his autograph on this right here. The storyboard.
Oh, right.
The Star Wars storyboard's got his autograph on it.
Yep.
It was I guess Prop Store was getting him to
I don't think he did a ton of conventions, but I know he did a few, and I remember specifically that was Celebration 5. I think it was 2010. Anyway.
I can't remember.
So great career and rest in peace, Robert.
Rest in peace, Robert.
And then I also just thought it was worth mentioning, just because I watched this show for so many years, American Pickers, Frank Fritz passed away last week.
Yeah, he was only 60. Had a stroke a couple years ago.
Yeah, I think 2022 he had a stroke, and then but he was one of us. He was the guy on the show that was into the toys and the other things. Not as he was into the cars and motorcycles and stuff too, but he was really into the toys and the cars, the toy cars and stuff. And I always enjoyed that show, so I wanted to make sure that we made reference to that as well.
Rest in peace, Frank. Way too young.
Yes.
Todd, would you agree? Way too young.
Absolutely.
Way too young.
Yes.
So sorry about that, Frank. All right, that's quite the marathon show. Thank you to Adam again and all the other stuff we're talking about. All good. Go to a convention. New York Comic Con's coming up. Rhode Island will be there.
Rhode Island has a spectacular guest list this year. People
good lineup. Yep. As
always. So, and Dave and I mentioned it going to Monster Mania, Philadelphia. So if anybody's going to that, hit us up. Let us know.
Yeah. And thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.